Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
Mr. Braeckeveldt, thank you for being with us and thank you for taking our questions. My first question, what do European businesses, European investors, generally the West, see with this commencement of the first session of the Parliament of Georgia, and probably we will have a new government as well?
I would put it a little bit broader. I'm here already so long, and I'm never going to forget last year in December that the candidate status to Georgia arrived, and Georgia got a very positive image within Europe, because I see the European news. They had a very positive, and the day that it was announced that we got the European candidate status, we got immediately calls. People wanted to come to Georgia to invest money in Georgia. They needed staff for a European company, so the European business was very much activated. However, now, of course, the image of Georgia is not on a good stance. Everybody knows politics is never good for business, I always tell. So I've been in Georgia, I'm Georgian, I've already been 3 elections I saw. Although I'm happy to vote in elections, it's horrible for me to see elections for the business sector, because we are always a bit the victim of these kind of things. And this time the political situation really overruled all the positive business investments we had from Europe. It was a bad narrative, and this affects really the business, the European businesses who wants to operate, for example, in Georgia. So I saw a lot of companies leaving, actually, with my own eyes.
Let's come back to that point a little bit later. You yourself are a European businessman in Georgia for many, many years, and you also have these connections with European businesses. What type of a businessman, what type of an investor is a European investor? Do these values that we are speaking about share the values of democracy, of doing business with clear rules of the game? Are these really important for these people, or is it, well, there might be a little bit of autocracy in the country, but still the inflow of investments will be the same, the economy will still thrive, and so on?
Absolutely, the most important is European standards, European values. Because a company, European company, if they want to operate in a country like Georgia, they need to make sure that this branch in Georgia has the same standards, because now we're living in a world, social media, it's all there, and how can for example, a Belgian company with a branch in Georgia suddenly gets a bad name because there is no European standards in it? No, they have to be in all the line on the same. So this is extremely important for them, for European businesses here, that they can have the same standards, the same values, and that they can promote also then that they are in Georgia.
You mentioned that businesses and investors are leaving Georgia. This is something that, for example, Fitch Ratings doesn't see at this point. What is the reason for that? And do you think this, the economic situation, the business situation has this leg, a little bit leg for what the political uncertainty tells them to do in the end?
I have to be careful what I'm answering now, because every business has a different perspective. Let me start, maybe separate them. First of all, let's speak about European businesses that are selling products on the Georgian market also, and from here on they want to expand to other markets. That's an important factor. These companies, we always have the problem in Georgia, there's a small market. So the big companies, we don't have the chance here to have the biggest companies in the world operate here, because there's no market yet. Although these smaller companies, European companies, the SME companies, they can come here to Georgia and they can sell their products, but also then go to other countries. This has stopped already for the last 2 years, gradually. Why? Because of the war. Because of the war in Ukraine. What happened? The European Union added sanctions for the Russian products on the European market. For me, as a person, of course, and as the representative of the European businesses, it was very unfortunate that there was no blockage from Russia to Georgia, because Russia, of course, if they all have this produced there, they dumped it on the Georgian market under the price, then you can produce it. So for that one, from the day to the other day, all the European companies suddenly got out of business, because how can I now go to a Georgian company and says, look, my products, buy my products, European quality products, if my price is more than double the size of the Russian products getting dumped here. So there had to be some buffers there. Yes, Georgia has a DCFTA, a free trade agreement with Europe, but it has even a more free trade agreement with Russia, which is very bad for that one. So that's the first thing, which due to the war, it gave a very bad thing for European businesses. I believe at some point, yes, we are living in Georgia. We all see suddenly we took advantage of the war a bit in Georgia because of the Russian influx here also, the cheaper products maybe. But on a future, this is not sustainable. Because, first of all, it's your European products, which are not anymore on the Georgian market. We all see it. The European products are leaving. The next point is that there is no use also to produce anything in Georgia anymore. Why? Because why you should start now invest in a factory if you know already that you cannot have the price that the goods are dumped here. So that's the second part happening. And the third part, which I also think has something to do with that, is the whole outflux of the young people. Let's also put a point on that one. Why young people are leaving? Because there is no production in Georgia. And due to the whole less regulations with Russia, all the products dumped, there's no reason to have a production here. So that's one big factor. You have, of course, the other point, which I see more companies are still here. For example, IT companies from the Baltic countries. There's a big problem also in skills, in labor in the European Union, and Georgia is perfectly positioned in that. Before you had Romania, Bulgaria, you have Poland. These were the countries when all the labor force went to Western Europe. That's over. These countries are really so well developed already, are even leading over Western European countries. So they need to find the labor force for somewhere else. And now the logical step was Georgia. Why Georgia? It's close to the borders with the European Union, but also, with all due respect, we all speak perfectly English. We have knowledgeable people here in Georgia, people who want to work. So that's what's happening, that they are now also leaving the country. People say, yes, this is bad, but yes, okay, there is no production here. Where are we going to keep them here? There is no production going on. So we really need to invest in production, local production, on that part. There are still some European companies which are proudly a member of the European Business Association, which are operating here, as I say, mostly IT companies. But I see also for them the second place, the European standards, European values, the image of Georgia, let's make it like this, is not making it better for them to further invest here, which is, I think, a big problem.
What do statistics tell about Georgian market and Georgia's philosophy of doing business? And we've seen that a share of the EU market in Georgia is down to 10-year minimum. And we also see which is even more important for that image that you have accentuated, is that the main markets for Georgia today are Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan. The counter argument towards that is, whatever doubts there might be why these specifically two markets have become the biggest markets for Georgia, not everything is sanctioned. So why is it a problem for Georgia to capitalize on the geopolitical situation that is there? How does that affect Georgia's image for the European and for more sustainable businesses?
You mentioned it correct, sustainable business. So this is not sustainable. Kyrgyzstan, even China, even Russia, this is not sustainable. The European Union has been here for so much supporting Georgia to implement European standards, and this is also helping the Georgian community here also. All these other countries we know, it's worldwide proven fact that this is not sustainable. European Union accession to be a part of the European Union, to have this image, a candidate status, this was a real goal, and the people in Georgia also know that this was actually the only route that Georgia could take. Now, yes, I understand, let's say the top 2% in Georgia is having it good, because these products go in cheap, although like Chinese products, they break every time. They come in cheap. European standards, you need to do some effort. You need to do some investment for this one, which I perfectly understand is very difficult. So, but this top 2% is now for the moment okay. But this is, the country is not helping. So, and every year, if we don't make some kind of a quick reversal of everything, every year I see Georgia will go into the decline. We really need to focus and harness that these European businesses here, that they can stay here also. I heard a lot of comments also, the DCFTA, that there's not enough trade with DCFTA. And I agree with that also, and people can get upset with that, but this is something you don't do in 1 year time. This is a structure you do for all years, and what we're now doing in the last year is we're losing all the investment we did in all these years.
That's a sad picture. So you don't see the Eurasian market, so to say, as the substitute of the European market, because sometimes it seems, even in the rhetoric of the government, that they kind of think that this could be substituted for Georgia.
Absolutely not. They cannot substitute this Eurasian market. I would even say more. By Georgia having part of the European Union, these European standards, European values, they actually had a leverage on this Eurasian, because they could do, for example, Middle Corridor, the transit routes. They could work all on these kind of things. As Georgia, as the one with the European values, with the European working on infrastructural projects, all this kind of thing, and be a hub for Europe to these kind of countries. Now it's like whole vice versa, that is Eurasian, that we are getting dependent. I don't think Georgia, any Georgian wants to be dependent from another country. We need to make sure that we show that we are having these kind of standards, these leverages, that we as Georgians can grow our economy, which is absolutely necessary. I didn't mention it yet, but we as the European Business Association, we have actually not published yet, but we have created the next EU Business Climate Report. It is already in draft, and it will be presented on the 10th of December.
Yes, I had it on
at the Business Forum. I can give you already some tips. Of course, political instability is the top problem again. But the lack of skills, the scale of the markets, it's all connected with each other. And personally, I see only one solution is having the candidate status from the European Union, to be Georgia, to get a future membership at the European Union. That is how we can solve the economy in Georgia. I don't see any other way.
What type of signal is for the European investors? For example, the Prime Minister stating that, or the chair of the parliament, it was that we haven't invited ambassadors to the first sitting of the parliament.
Yeah, well, I have to be answered is very strict. So first of all, I'm not a politician.
Of course, I know. I'm not trying to. No, yeah. I'm not trying to drag you in that discussion.
My personal opinion, which I could speak this, and I truly tell this is my personal opinion, and my profession, I'm a manager. I would like to see Georgia as managed. It should be a managed people. The economy is going, as I mentioned now, in the worst situation. We need managers who organize, who work together. Again, it's a personal opinion now. We have now all this the protest actions, we have the government through parliament goes without. People will need to stop placing their red lines like this. People will need to start communicating with each other in the benefit of the economy, because the economy is hurting, and if we're going to keep on like this, we're going further and further away. We need now people to manage, to make sure to find solutions, and I'm sorry, I have no idea how, but to find solutions to make sure that we can get the economy on track, that we can get back the positiveness. First, I would even answer about the foreign agents law. This is now for a year we were discussing about this. It hampers the business environment. It hampers the economy. Me as a person, I am not an agent of foreign influence. Even worse, I am an agent of Georgia because I'm helping the Georgian economy to succeed. So let's please be honest on this thing and let's cancel this law. That's a first step that we need to do. The implementation of the 9 points from the European Union was never anything to do with politics. It has to do with the economy. It has to do to create a better economy for the people, give more employment opportunities, and make the people have more not standards, but also more money in their pocket at the end of the day. If we have a good economy, it's for the whole population of Georgia good. This is important.
So you are saying that this low inflation, high economic growth, which is let's say directly helping the government in the light of these protests even and everything, is not sustainable if this political uncertainty stays there. And Fitch Ratings told us that their outlook and their projections are that this will have a lasting effect rather than what they anticipated at first.
I'm also not an economist, so on that part also, I was in a meeting with World Bank, with other people, speaking about the economy doing good. We were in a round table. I was so surprised because, for me specific, I'm working on the European part. European investors and Georgian companies exporting to the European Union. It is dramatic for us. So, okay, good you see the progresses, the GDP, the ideas they have. I have a serious doubt about it, that this is sustainable. This is a very short term that we'll have, and it will be even worse for Georgia afterwards, disasters. You need to have partners, you need to have trading partners. We are in the whole geopolitical situation, nobody knows what's going to happen. Everything has changed in 1 year time. Georgia needs to be there. Georgia does not have time to be now with this local politics busy. Georgia needs to have now, as I told, a good manager in place, good cooperations between all parts of the society. Civil society also, very important, needs to work together to make sure, hey, we're ready to take the next step and grow the economy. That should be the idea from everybody for the moment.
What are some of the challenges personally for you as a businessman in Georgia doing business in this situation?
As I mentioned, so practically, the first one was an important one, products. I'm bringing here also quality products, Belgian products on the market. I didn't sell for the last 2 years, and it's not that that's now a personal problem, I don't sell the products. No, it means that the market is not ready for this. So again, the cheaper products are coming here, which are less quality, so the quality standards, the standards go down, which I see as a real issue. What else I would say, from me as personally, I wouldn't know, I would not go personally, I would see my businesses. The European business, we have more than 100 companies now who are connected to us. What I see every day is frustration. I hear that people, I'm not telling that they're leaving the country, there are a few who left the country, I don't want to use them now. But I want to see the people who are very dissatisfied with what is going on here, that they don't see economic progress, and at least that they say we're not going to invest anymore in the next 10 years in Georgia. So the lasting effect is this is going to rumble now, and we are already lost a few, but it's going to get much worse if we don't change. We have an opportunity. We still have an opportunity to change, to make it better, to have communicating with each other more better, and again to put a priority in the economy again, to put the priority in the business, support the business, and especially the SME, the smaller businesses. I would mention also one thing that I have to mention now that you asked this question. What I also see is legislation. Because of what happened now in the last year, there is no progress in the legislation. Correct laws also. And we see also a little bit more direct communication, direct answers from businesses for corruption. That they're seeing corruption started. I'm not telling small corruption. I'm meaning in legislation, that a legislation is created in a disadvantage of the businesses.
And benefiting just a small
benefiting a small
of
part. I'm seeing again, which I have to stress out again, I see again banks who are going into, who have more than 3 insurance companies under their umbrella already, who are violating GDPR rules by communicating who has an account there, has a car bought, he can go for the insurance. These are violations. We need to be very careful of that one. We are not going to have our economy better if these things, these big businesses are growing together and making this kind of a situation that the smaller companies cannot develop. A taxation in a company, the money for the company, the GDP, is organized by small and medium enterprises. They don't ask any tax leverages and they just pay their taxes every month. If we can have now, rather than 1,000 SMEs, we can have 1 million SMEs, the economy of Georgia will bloom unbelievable.
I read European Business Association's slogan behind you. It says, doing business in Georgia will be the same as doing business in Europe. Do you still believe in that?
Absolutely. I will never stop believing in that one, because I still think that this is what is necessary. We need to have the legislation from Europe in Georgia to give trust to investors, to fellow businesses, to have a fair business to working with each other, and that Georgia can be better. I would like to say, when I arrived 25 years now ago, I arrived in Georgia. What I've learned in Georgia, what I missed in Europe, is the cleverage, the know-how. People here have ideas, which in Europe you don't see anymore. People with all crazy ideas for business plans and things like that, I was amazed. And they still have it here. We just need to make sure we can realize it, that there's a legislation that they also can develop here. On that part, let's discuss about startups. This is also something, this is not really the full business, yes, but there's a lot of startup companies in Georgia. Why they are running away? Why can we not create here the base that the startup company, rather to go to San Francisco or go to Europe, to Brussels, what is this? No, the startups, we want to be here. We want to be here, we want to grow from Georgia. This is what we need to do.
At least they have the chance to do so. But if this political isolation on a broader level, it develops, right? Because we haven't heard that these elections were free and fair. We haven't seen the West actually saying and congratulating GD. More so, we see President of Georgia filing, and I'm not dragging you into politics, no. I promise. But if this continues, do you think there will be this chance? Because we now hear from the US sanctioning of the officials. We now hear from the EU the possibility of stopping the visa liberalization regime. All those things. Do the businesses in Georgia understand what is at stake?
Absolutely. They know what is at stake. I would say from the political part, all the businesses, at least all our members, they fully agree with the statements that made by the EU ambassador Pavel. He's always making the best, correct statements. And on that part, like a person like the EU ambassador and the other EU member state ambassadors, they are really care about Georgia. They are not here to interfere in Georgia. You clearly see that. They are actually took a step back, but they are still ready to engage with us, to help Georgia getting better. They're just on a waiting mode for the moment. How long this waiting mode goes, I don't know. But I know for sure that people are very caring about Georgia, which is still very important. And there is a way back to change all these things. How, I'm sorry, the politicians, and they have to figure this out, how to do that. That's not my job. I'm not getting paid for that. But they need to figure it out to turn back and that we can, on a normal base, communicate with all the embassies, with all the European partners, the American partners. There is a way there, and it's going to be taking maybe some extra time, some extra effort, but I've seen Georgia passing in the last 25 years to other situations already also. So I'm practically sure that Georgia is capable of doing it, and I still hope it.
How long will we have that window? And that's my last question, to improve the image of the country, for the West not thinking that Georgia is turning its back to the Euro-Atlantic integration, which has been its core purpose for so many years. And you know that this is a clear image of the country at this point from our strategic partners.
I will have to check in my glass ball for that.
Exactly, crystal ball, definitely.
It is so difficult. The only thing I would say, and I think everybody agrees on that one also, the further we wait, the more difficult it will be to get back on track. And this is important. I can say personally, as the president of the European Business Association, I'm here. I'm ready to go again with the legislation, to work on the recommendations from the EU, to work with government, with opposition. We as a business association, we are non-political. So we have to work with any government that is there, elected by the people. But we are also on a standstill. We have no communication.
Do you know
also
who is elected by people?
That is our thing. We do not decide. Okay, personally I went to vote and I'm proud I went to vote, but we as a business association, we need to work with any government. If it's now the current government, if it's the next government, is it a combination or something, we need. But we are also, because there is all these doubts we're on a standstill, so we're also not moving forward, which is very bad. We are here standing also ready, the same like the European embassies, I'm sure, like everybody. We're standing ready to continue and to work again very hard to make it better for the Georgian country in a whole, but for the Georgian people also, to make this economy strong.
Actually, you know, John, and thank you for your time, and that's my last comment. This is what EU ambassadors and all the diplomats used to say once about Georgia, that they have to be, you know, cautious, they have to make very balanced statements, but now they decided that it's not time for that. And the perfect example of this is a German ambassador who takes all these blows and who explains his very clear comments, because Georgia is on the crossroads, but this is a different crossroads now than it used to be even 25 years ago when you came to Georgia, because the question marks are different now. When do you think business will decide that it is time to be more clear on who do you want you to work with? Do you see the situation, the uncertainty? I mean, to be more specific, that, you know, global war party is a bad rhetoric for Georgia.
That's a very difficult question. I would say, yes, this rhetoric, let's put also this rhetoric a bit at election time. I know in the Belgium election also, there also were very bad rhetorics, although it doesn't get into the media in Europe. It's only in Georgia it gets blown out of proportion, these things. And that's again, we go to the first sentence, like elections are very bad for business. So let's first see how this can be solved, and let's correct this rhetoric. Belgium had elections in June. Also, we had elections, and I saw also some rhetoric at the elections. As soon as the elections was done, then democracy picks up. Then the parties are getting together, putting their programs together, which is also very important in Georgia here. Nothing is happening. Like, they don't put a program test from, look, this is what we want to do in this legislation, this is what's going to be decided on, with which parties we work together, this is what we're going to decide on, and this we're going to implement. So we are not there yet for this to happen here in Georgia, but business cannot force that also. We need to follow. I also hear some statements from, yes, business needs to be more vocal. We are vocal. We tell it harms the business. But we as a business cannot tell who has to be in the government and who we have to communicate. Again, I cannot tell which government official will communicate or not communicate. It is the business that says we need to change legislation in favor of the business to make it better. So we are not the decision makers. We are here to work, we need to make it better for the population, but we need the support also from government, opposition, from all these parties who are in politics to think about us and help us also, that we can do our job.
And do you think that the government that has stopped Georgia from EU integration, and that's what EU says, do you think any configuration of that government could lead Georgia back on track to the European Union? Do you see that little chance there?
I've been too long in Georgia, so I became a Georgian dreamer already. So, and not Georgian dreamer, a Georgian dreamer. I became a dreamer also, a Georgian dreamer that I say, I still hope that Georgia will get back on track. We did it in these last 25 years, we did it multiple times. So I still hope that people will think and take priority now in the business sector, in the European business sector. And again, from making sure that doing business in Georgia will be the same as doing business in Europe. This is the only thing we want to work for, which is important.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.